This podcast is sponsored by Affinity Recruiting and Consulting. 94% of small businesses and nonprofits disappear before their 10th birthday. The top 6% survive and thrive for two reasons: talent and strategy. Affinity's team of experts provides talent acquisition, outsourced HR, strategic planning, and fundraising support. Long story short, they fix the problems that cause small businesses and nonprofits to fail. If you could use help with recruiting, consulting, or HR, email their founder, Rob Murphy, to start a conversation today. You can also visit them online at affinitytoday.com, and both of those links are in the episode notes. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Rockets. Today I sit down to talk with the founder of Open Door, a local business providing independent work, social, and life skills to those on the autism spectrum and advocating for neurodiversity in the workplace. Thank you so much for joining me today. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it is you do?
Sure. My name is David Stidger. I am the owner-founder, like you said, of Open Door. We're a local-based company that promotes neurodiversity in the workplace by way of job training, one-on-one job training in live work environments to help our clients assimilate and basically become employable before just getting employed.
Okay.
We find the benefit is, naturalistic exposure and modeling in a live work environment, and kind of modeling the social behaviors of that to be very beneficial for them. And that's our goal. Yeah.
So with most people I talk to, they're not all often originally from Huntsville. Did work or family bring you to Huntsville, or are you originally from Huntsville yourself?
So I am a rare unicorn,
yes.
Huntsville native, born and raised here.
Okay.
Blossomwood, Huntsville Middle, Huntsville High, University of Alabama. So one of those rare ones.
Yes.
Huntsville native.
So I saw that you got your psychology degree from the University of Alabama in 2005. What were you doing for work prior to 2013 when you were to start Open Door?
So it's kind of a funny story, and I'll back up a little bit. I after graduation, I ended up moving to Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Okay.
So I kind of did the, I want to live in the mountains for a little bit.
Get out of Huntsville. I'll never live there.
I was like, so I took off, and you're when you're doing that and you're young, you're expecting to probably be working in like a souvenir shop or a t-shirt shop
yes.
or in a kitchen or whatever it may be. And there was a facility out there that was state run that was looking for what they called cottage parents for people with intellectual disabilities and some addiction issues, you name it. So it was kind of a melting pot of things of that nature, and I applied. So it sounded interesting and sounded like something that I would like to learn more about. And that's actually when I very first came into contact with working in and around someone with autism.
Okay.
It wasn't a particular client of mine while I was there, but I was around it a lot and got to meet a lot of different individuals and different disabilities and differing abilities.
Okay.
And so anyway, ended up working there, lived in Jackson for about a year, and that was just a phenomenal experience. I did one winter and was ready to come back south. So.
You're like, this is great, but I got to go home.
Right, yeah, and skiing's a little expensive. So,
yes, it can be.
Well, that town in general is expensive. But so came back and kind of used that experience to get into more of acute autism therapy, which was early intervention. So I began working at a behavioral clinic for early intervention children with autism. So we're talking acute one-on-one therapy in a clinical setting, and teaching kind of the basics of when a family first receives a diagnosis and a child, you're talking 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Learned a whole lot, from a behavioral perspective and behavioral modification. And that's what really kind of turned the light on to me of what a, interesting perspective autism in and of itself is, even if it's a toddler. So, I had times when I saw a child speak their first word,
wow.
Verbally that, might have even been an echo, but it was, we threw a party, know, so, got really, really interested in that and, kind of worked my way up at that clinic. I was a clinic administrator for a while. And, so part of the, working with the family process and the administrative nature of it as well, gained some good experience there. So, that was the kind of the story of the background.
Yeah. So what even interested you? What interested you in the beginning to even get a psychology degree from Alabama?
You know, I just like the mind.
Okay.
I love, Oliver Sacks, and I love reading about, people's diversity of thought. To me is just absolutely amazing.
Okay.
I can read about it and research about it and talk about it, run my mouth about it all day long. I think the brain and how the brain works is something that I think, we as humanity have barely kind of scratched the surface of, to be honest. And
Wow.
I think there's a lot more to that than, people think, and some interconnecting, aspects to how the brain works, and diversity of thought. And so in essence, that kind of pairs with what we're doing at Open Door,
Yeah.
and kind of opening people's eyes to that.
Yeah. So you initially launched the company in 2013.
Correct.
But when did you first have this idea to even start this? Was it a year or two before then, or like what was that first spark of like, hey, maybe I could start my own business?
Yeah. So the crazy idea. I was at that particular behavioral clinic at the time that I was telling you about, and there was a family whose the dad was on the board of directors for that clinic.
Okay.
And he had an adult son with autism that they were looking for a male to work with him and kind of shadow him as he volunteered at the local library.
Okay.
And they wanted somebody that had some, knowledge of autism and working with those on the spectrum, and kind of, some behavior knowledge and how to kind of manage that if needed. And they asked me, and I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. I love one-on-one ratio teaching or mentoring or whatever it may be. So I jumped at the opportunity. So, anyway, my kind of side role, was to meet him at the library where he already had a volunteer position.
Okay.
And just kind of manage him as he did his shift.
Okay.
So regarding, his social interactions, and helping prompt in that regard, and, regarding his work tasks and staying focused, and, when to ask for breaks, and how to navigate from task to task, and, keep a good routine, establish rapport, and kind of just shadow him as he did his job.
Yeah.
And it after seeing how much he grew, not only on paper from resume material to where he could use in the future, but just socially and organically in an environment to where he felt needed.
Yeah.
Which I think is not the case a lot of the time, unfortunately. Everything about it I fell in love with. I saw his coworkers that were there see him grow. He gained confidence, and kind of got, grasped that, dignity of work, even volunteer. It's people need me to do these tasks, and I'm here and I do it, and I have my ways of doing it, and I have established relationships around this place, and I'm of worth.
Yeah.
Right. So one day it just kind of clicked. I was like, man, this is so beneficial and could be so beneficial, this model, I guess.
And there was nothing like this model in town that you could see, or was there other models that you were like, okay, I think I could? There was nothing.
No.
Wow.
No. I mean, there were companies that were in like Sweden that were
Trying. Yeah.
Employing
But no
people.
local Huntsville.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Oh, wow.
So, and not only that, but just for adults with autism in general.
Yeah.
A lot of these individuals kind of fall in a gray area. If it's high functioning autism, then they're going to have deficits that kind of go unseen until they're seen. But they're also going to have strengths that go unseen. And there was nothing really kind of intersecting the two of those, and helping these individuals show, like I said before, their worth and their capability.
So it was just automatic, like I think I could do this on a more of this, like on a bigger scale than just kind of like once in a while here and there.
Yeah, ish. I was thinking like, maybe I could find another, it was kind of baby steps. Maybe I could find another individual,
go from 1 to 2
here at the library that could benefit the same way, right?
Yeah.
Or another place that would be accepting and inclusive and whatever. The words inclusive and inclusion and neurodiversity weren't even in my brain at the point.
No.
It was just organic. Like this is good for everyone.
Yeah, like
right?
I enjoy doing this. This is, like I've been able to see the result.
Yes.
Like this is a lot of fun. Like let's see if I
Yes.
can like go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4.
Exactly.
What was the switch of saying like let's actually make this a company, and what were those first steps that you were like, okay, like now this is more than just 1 or 2. This is going to be like an organization that I'm creating. Like,
Sure.
What did that look like? Because those are very different things.
Very, you know, and I think that's a risk, you know,
Yeah.
I regardless of the field, if people call it, you know, philanthropic, or if you're in tech or whatever it may be, you know, entrepreneurship is, you're kind of jumping off a cliff.
Yeah, it's a little risky business.
Hoping your parachute opens,
Yes.
you know? So from a standpoint of before, you know, I knew I wanted to make it an entity as
Okay.
opposed to just David Stidger, job coach.
Yeah.
I just think that gives something the opportunity to scale
For sure.
if it happens, right? So, you know, I talked to a few people and obviously some attorneys, and it was simple LLC, and you know, the name, it's funny. I was a big, or still am, and I'm actually a buddy of hers. Temple Grandin is someone that I love her. I follow all of her, you know, her podcasts, her events. We've hosted her here before and had her speak at the Civic Center. And she, I don't know if you know this or you're familiar with her, but she did a film back in like '08, I believe. Well, it was a film about her. It was played by Claire Danes.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a scene in it, and she uses this metaphorical kind of continuously metaphorical term to where she says, you know, a door opened and I went through it.
Yeah.
And I had to just keep thinking that to myself, that this isn't as hard as it seems in my head.
Yeah.
I can do this. And I was just like, open door. Okay.
Love that.
So we want businesses to let us come in and do our training within their doors.
Yes.
And it just kind of,
It just clicked.
that was it. Yeah.
So,
So,
I mean, at the time when you started the company, were you still doing your other stuff on the side and kind of doing this at the same time?
I
tandem?
was.
Okay.
Yes. And I thought, you know, that'd be beneficial. And that was balancing that was hard because, you know, you're getting perspective of these families that you're kind of getting to see the lifespan
Yes.
that way. So I would get to, you know, I'd be doing clinic work with the younger kids some days of the week. And then I would work with the adult individuals in a work environment other days of the week.
Yeah.
So you kind of get the whole lifespan and, you know, what the families have to go through and what they went through to get to where they are. And I think it just gave me a really good perspective of, okay, how can we intersect at that kind of like high school graduation age to you know, to further employment capacity or employability capacity that these individuals have, because they are absolutely 100% capable if they are, you know, if it's gone about in the right manner.
Yeah. So like, was the success of Open Door right off the bat, and like when were you actually able to then make the jump of saying this could be my full-time job?
So, you know, my capacity, and I did, when I left the behavioral clinic, my capacity was about 7 clients. So that kind of filled my time enough to where I said,
Yeah.
I gotta go with this. You know, simple. I didn't really market that much. You know, it was more for just kind of organically talking to individuals, business owners, whoever it may be. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
You
Did
know,
those 7 clients happen within the first year?
I
2
would
years?
say about 6 to 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're already like, I can't. Like,
Yeah.
Wow.
So
like,
faster than I almost wanted.
yes. Yeah, you're like, I'll take this a little slow. I'll just make the entity like hold on to it for a
Right,
second, do
right,
both, have
sure.
some security, really.
Right, right.
So, I mean, you have a full-time job, you
Right.
have that, and then you're able to start this because,
Yeah.
I mean, starting the business, you're not going to have that security.
Sure.
You're losing a lot of it. And
A
so
lot.
you,
Yeah.
in 6 months, you're like, oh, I got to leave.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what did...
And I didn't like, you know, I was sad. I had been with that place for
And
a
you
while.
enjoyed it, and it
I
was-
enjoyed it. And I had made, you know, wonderful connections whom I still talk to a lot, that are kind of, you know, in the autism community
Yeah.
in Huntsville. And, but I felt like what I was doing, not that what I was doing there didn't matter. Obviously it did. But I felt like what I was doing was really, really needed and I believed in that, and I was passionate about it. So, I think I was making small victories, so that would kind of increase my confidence going forward. Yeah. So, to answer your question, it was super stressful, super sleepless nights. I bet. How can I sustain this? What if X, Y, Z?
And so it was just you at that time too.
Yes.
When you went full time, you were. When you were able to go full time, what did that 7 you were able to actually do by yourself before you actually had to hire the next person?
That it was a while.
Really?
It was probably years.
Wow.
But it sustained me and my lifestyle, and I was helping clients, and the passion for it is what just kept me going.
Yeah.
Not to get ahead of any questions, but down the road, I was continuously making community connections and talking to people, in the autism community, and what their, needs, wants, and dreams and hopes and everything were. And so I got to meet a lot of individuals, parents, siblings, the individuals on the spectrum of all different ages. And I just happened to meet a woman who had a son on the spectrum, and she said, "I want to invest in what you're doing."
Wow.
So, and that was provided a lot of resource. You kind of restart at that
100%.
point, and that's when I really started learning about, the business side of what it is that I do, which to be honest, I'm not a big fan of. I'm not, I want to work with people, and I want to help people.
That's not the reason you started.
No, I want to teach.
Yes.
I want to teach. I want to see successes every day, and learn more from different individuals, and but not that it was a bad thing. It was just all very sudden and very different for me.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I didn't even have an office space. Like,
wow.
I would just go from environment to environment,
this place to this place. So
absolutely.
Go to a coffee shop in between to get some work done, whatever that looked like. Wow.
Yep. Or the library is kind of a hub. But yeah, so that kind of almost, it obviously was a process. It took some time, but we were able to get an office space, and that's when you can kind of really, you've got your hub then, and you can kind of get into the more visionary, what do I want to do down the road, and collaborations with others, and all that.
So looking at the website, it was it looks like you have 4 different categories of services. You have assimilate, socialize, prepare, and collaborate. Can you talk a little bit about what each one of these are?
Yeah, so assimilate is probably what we are known best for, and that's our on-site job training. Okay. So that is, our environments and where we do our training are the essence of what we do. It's the lifeblood of what we do. That's our model. We want our clients to model the environment that they're in. So the environment is half the teacher, is what I kind of like to tell people. What they're modeling, the conversations they're around, the prompting targets that the coach is working on for that particular client. That's what provides them the best opportunity to kind of organically learn, okay, this is me assimilating into what a job environment is. Okay. Right. So, think of it kind of as an internship, but with a job coach, and it's for someone on the spectrum.
And these are on site at a job itself. So how you were in the library, kind of in that environment, not at your hub, not at your office.
Not for that service.
Okay, got it.
So, that could be anything from, depending on the client, and we're very individualized. We want to see person first before diagnosis. So, Jimmy comes in, we do an intake, we take what his interests are. Some people may call it fixations. That's fine too. But you can cultivate that for someone on the spectrum, and you can make it and kind of broaden it and steer it into a job or a career. And so that's what we focus on. How can we take an interest that they have and pair it with an environment that they're going to walk in and immediately
thrive,
find reinforcement in and thrive, and then filter in some actual job tasks they're going to
Gotcha.
be doing, resume material, all of that,
So is the assimilate sort of like is it a long-term process, or is it like a 6 month, like what
depends.
typically is
it? It depends. Typically it'd be 90 days,
Okay.
90 to 120 days, but we've had clients that we've worked with for over a year.
Okay.
Over that. It just kind of depends on how they progress with their targets, how they assimilate into that environment, how they generalize that.
Okay.
We want them to, number one, we want them to gain confidence and to realize I can do this. I can work. I'm of value. I can work. Once you have that baseline of confidence and being in an environment they've never really been in and being around people they've never really been in, establishing rapport with those people over time, gaining confidence in their ability to do their work, then they're very malleable to the point that they see I'm capable. Then we bring them in office. We work on that resume, interview skills, so that would be one of the other
socialize, prepare, collaborate.
So the prepare.
Okay. So it's sort of like after they get out of that 120, 90 days, and they go to the next stage of this thing. Okay.
Now, some clients they don't need on-site job training, right? Maybe they've had a job before. Maybe it was a job they felt undervalued in, that they believe they're capable of doing more than what they were doing prior. So we might put them directly into, let's just go into career mentorship. We're going to work on you on building your resume up and wording it correctly. Social or remote communication skills as far as following up. The application process is a monster for anybody. Yeah. So if you've got a higher level of anxiety and not a whole lot of work experience and maybe some low, self-confidence, that's super daunting.
Oh yeah.
So we kind of one-on-one ratio in office help them approach that whole
process.
beast.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's tough for anybody, and having that hand to navigate, and then being able to say like we've seen them at all these different stages, and we're able to help you at that stage. And so from the prepare, does it go to the collaborate, socialize?
So it's kind of
either or,
a la carte. Yeah. The collaborate service is our Dungeons and Dragons life skill group. So it is. We had a relationship with Curse Wikipedia, the gaming company that used to be here, then turned into Fandom, and I had reached out to them. This was, 3 years ago, prior to the pandemic. But they do a lot of they run D&D Beyond, which is the online application of their D&D character sheets and all the crazy stuff. So reached out to them and we formed a relationship with them to where we had a couple clients doing just simple like coding, typing work on D&D Beyond, and then they were also doing character sheet backgrounds. We had a couple of clients that were artists, and so you can customize your character sheet online, and they got to go in and kind of make the background for it.
That's cool.
And, it was super cool. But anyway, a guy up there, Jared, he was like one of their project managers. He was like, man, we should play D&D. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So we had clients that were interested in doing that.
Wow.
And, for them, going up to Fandom, that's a dream.
Yeah, cool, great experience. For any, I mean, like, amazing.
Such a cool, it was like walking into Google, like they're just guys, eating pizza, coding, and playing video. Cool. They had like a Switch here and a PS4 there, and but that type of environment was very accepting, very inclusive, very open-minded, and they saw, kind of the benefit of having different-minded individuals in the workplace. So they were a huge kind of stepping stone for us and just that whole relationship. But anyway, so they had a guy there, Andrew, that was a dungeon master, and he's like well known. You're talking a guy that does D&D for a living. Wow. So he was like, yeah, I'll DM it. You get some clients up here, and we did some research about the benefits of tabletop gaming and role play for individuals with autism, and we did a game, and it was just phenomenal.
Wow.
I mean, the guys from start to the end of the campaign, which was probably a good 2.5 months worth of sessions. I mean, just, it was unbelievable. They were like new people, coming out of their shell socially, and they're collaborating together and problem solving together. And, it might be slaying a dragon, but so much of that parallels to life, right? And teamwork and collaboration and meeting of different minds and working together to solve a common problem. And so it was just unbelievably cool. So anyway, that was kind of the inception of how we got into the D&D thing, which I didn't know anything about prior.
I know nothing about.
Well, it's a lot. And I'm still learning. Like I kind of missed the state. I was a little younger in the 80s when it was like really on fire and people are into it. But, super, super cool. And you just wouldn't believe the fandom around that. It's just unbelievable. But, so after that, fandom, I think, ended up they had to close their offices for the pandemic, which is terrible, but they were all able to work remotely. So we were like, okay, that sucks, but okay. So I was like, I want to keep this going. And I had it was so fortuitous. I had this gentleman email me, and he was like, I looked at your company. I'd really like to work for you guys as a job coach. And I was like, okay, I see your resume. He was had taught in Japan, like really cool guy. He's still with us. Sam, what's up? And I was like, yeah, we'll just do, kind of an informal interview. We'll have a chat. And he comes in and he saw a D&D Beyond sticker on my laptop. He was like, you play D&D? And I was like, not really, but here's the story. He was like, I'm a dungeon master. I love it. And I was like, let's go.
You're hired.
Yeah.
Can you start tomorrow?
Exactly. So he did job coaching for us, which he was phenomenal at as well. And then we started our own service he DMs the games for the clients. So we've run 3 campaigns. The third one just ended, so we're currently looking for a new group.
Wow. So how many people come into the group to do that?
So Sam's pretty particular about that, which I respect. It's usually about 5 tops.
Okay.
For him to be able to do it and do it the right way, and we really kind of on the back end discuss what each particular client kind of needs to work on and put them in scenarios in the realm that help that.
Wow.
So it's really, really, really cool. It's fun. It's beneficial. They enjoy the hell out of it. And it's good for, they'll play at Lucky Dice and everybody will eat and they'll play. I
just would have never even have imagined that those two could work so well together. But now that you've explained it, it's like, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, and role play is so big in regard to, people on the spectrum being able to kind of come out of their shell is because they get to do that. Yeah. So it kind of alleviates the anxiety if it's being role played. So we do a lot of role play for, our mock interview skills. Like it's, it's really beneficial. So that kind of paralleled, that's why we call it kind of like, Dungeons and Dragons life skills group. So
and it gives an opportunity to socialize, which is kind of like that. It's like the collaborative side and the socialization side all built in one.
Oh yeah, and it's eating together and talking together prior to the game starting and after, and oh man, that part where we did XYZ, and it's just it's everybody it's win-win. So we're definitely going to keep that going.
So, I mean, a big part, too, of what Open Door does is you have to be able to partner with these organizations in town to kind of give the opportunity for the people that come within Open Door to be able to have those jobs. Right. And partnerships are a big part of what's on your website. Can you talk a little bit about if there's a business owner that's listening or what just wants to know a little bit more about this structure or what it would look like? Kind of talk a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so we, I don't want to I'll get into the boring stuff after, but obviously, well, I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. But, we have a simple, MOU, memorandum of understanding of what we do, what we're looking to accomplish for our clients and what's expected of an environment. And, it's not some 3-page legal document. It's simply, we want there to be work available for them to do when they're there, right? That's beneficial. So really, environment wise, it's kind of customized and depends on the role. So we have, like I said, we actually got Straight to Ale as an environment as of yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Thank you, Jamie. And the client had prior work in a thrift store and wanted to kind of up that a little bit, and they needed help kind of in the brewery lab in the back doing some things in there. So regarding the partnership, it kind of differs, but in essence, from our standpoint, the client comes for, and this is we're a supplementary service, right?
Okay.
So we have clients that are in college at the same time. They might even have another job at the same time where, like I said, they may be unfulfilled, or they want to learn more help, or they need more resume material, or they may have never worked whatsoever.
Okay.
So
all different stages.
Right. So, we're not with a client 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. This is more like a few hours a week, right?
Okay.
It's enough for them to get exposure to a work environment. And it's also enough for the coach to notate and target certain aspects that they need help with in the job place environment.
Okay.
So we would never be like, okay, we're going to work with you for an 8-hour shift, right? A lot of people can't sustain that.
Yeah.
Even if they have worked before. So we don't want to overwhelm them from the jump. And we also don't want to undervalue them for meeting them, for 30 minutes or whatever. We also don't want to put them in a environment just to say they're getting job training, right? We're not going to throw you in a knitting shop just to be like, you're getting job training.
Yeah.
We want it to be associative to something that they're interested in, and that they might have a little knowledge about. That's what's going to help them thrive the most, and is going to be the most benefit to that particular business. So.
And your partnerships range from a bunch of different industries. Like,
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was restaurants. I saw Fat Sammy's. You have Straight to Ale. You had tons of other ones. And has it been a tough sort of, like, what is the general response that you've seen when you're able to, like, are you approaching these businesses saying like, hey, this is what we do? Like, what does that response look like?
It differs, no one's outright like, it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot of people, I think, from them being a little more educated about autism, and I understand that, or neurodiversity in general. Liability obviously is something that a lot of people bring up, which we're totally covered for that, but it just kind of differs on the business. So for instance, when we had a client at Fat Sammy's, and I just sat down with Jeremy for a little bit. It was like, here's what we do, here's how we do it, and verbal handshake. That was that. Lockheed Martin was like retinal scans and blood tests.
Makes sense.
But that was good experience for us to kind of get used to what that's like.
Yeah,
right?
and then get into the door into that like realm.
Exactly. And we have a client out there that he did his open door internship at Lockheed with a coach, and they were super, even on that massive kind of corporate scale, like they got it. They got it, and they were open to it. So that was a really big victory, for us, and much less the client, whom they are now hiring part-time as a tech writer.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
And like, do you see that it becomes a little bit easier once you get that one or two of like within an industry or within like a sort of in that realm of Lockheed Martin, that you're able then to kind of like approach other organizations within that, or does it get a little bit easier at that point?
You would think that it would, but I think people are coming around, and I think, the diversity in the workplace train is really rolling right now, obviously, right? But, our mission is, neurodiversity is diversity. It should be added to a DEI program if a company has one. And that's something that really gets me going, is just, that what could be more diverse than diversity of thought, right? Or diversity of the mind. So, nothing against, sexual background or ethnic background or race or whatever, but I think that neurodiversity, I think you will see that start to gain traction as time goes on in regard to just diversity in general. And I think it should be.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're trying to kind of get ahead of that as well. As this is as diverse as it gets, right?
Yeah.
This is somebody that might see something that no one else will see, or a pattern that no one else will see, or data analytics. A lot of our clients are super gifted at, or whatever it may be. So, yeah, I think I got on a tangent there.
So, I mean, like for the first few years, it was just you. What does your team size look like now? And it seems like now the scale has gotten a little bit bigger. Like you said, you had you have Sam that's now on and stuff like that. So, like, is your team now 5, 10 people, or what does it look like?
We're between 5 and 10.
Okay.
And we have our coaches do a little bit of everything. So, we have a lot of in-office clients that come in for kind of the career mentorship help and things in that regard. And then we have coaches like Jeff, who's awesome, that's at Lockheed 1 second, Space and Rocket Center the next session, restaurant the next session, graphic design firm so it's, we're out. The majority of our work is out and about.
Wow.
Right? And that's where we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But, we still have, we have social groups that we run, which would be the socialized service on there. And that's 2 different kind of age groups and language capabilities that we try to match the best way we can, and common interests, So one of them is a younger group that would be about 16 to 20. And then we have a group that's about mid-20s up to 45.
Okay.
They meet bi-weekly at the office, and we work on what we call the science of making friends, where, we want them to socialize, but we don't want them to just be pals when they're under our roof, right?
Yeah.
So we work a lot on, remote communication and keep the convo going. Let's shoot an invite to someone to go get a burger or go on a hike or whatever it may be. So when we hear that they have made like their own plans and are doing it on their own accord, that's when we're like, yes,
we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish.
Exactly.
And so thinking over this journey you've had over the last, 10 years, probably, of just having this initial idea, kind of doing it to now where you are now, is this entrepreneurial mindset something that you think you've always had?
No.
This is a skill you've had to develop over the years?
Yeah, I would think so.
You never were like, I'm going to own my own business one day?
Never.
Okay.
Never. This was a 100% organic. I like this. This is fun. I could do this. I enjoy this, and I'm visibly seeing the benefit, right?
Yeah.
From a small scale when I first started to kind of where we are now, and what I just said about our client getting hired at Lockheed, like
that's huge.
That was like not for the exposure. No. I could care less.
Yeah.
Cool. We got all right. Great. There's a million people that work at Lockheed, but for us, for me, and for him. Yeah. It was
seeing his journey throughout the process.
Oh my gosh, his mom emailed and said, "This is the greatest day of my life." So getting an email like that is, that's.
But never once were like, I'm gonna own my own business. Like I'm gonna work for myself.
I didn't really, never preemptively.
No. Just kind of just like this almost like it almost seems like I said, this is such an organic journey that you've had. Like having this opportunity at someone that you worked with, saying, hey, would you mind shadowing my son? To then, hey, I can shadow 3. To like, okay, I can do 6.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do 9.
Exactly.
Or I got to hire somebody. And then you're just kind of growing like that. Stepping stones, really.
Yeah, it is. And we want our clients to grow in an organic nature as well.
Yeah.
It's making relationships. It's being exposed to this and that. Sometimes people need to be exposed to things they know, so they know what they don't want to do the rest of their life. It's not always, be exposed to what your dream job may be. But we, in the same breath, we take an organic approach to our clients. We're not clinical. We don't want to be.
Yeah.
We want to see you as Clark, not Clark with autism, but as Clark, right? Or whatever it may be. So, person first, person centered, diagnosis, whatever. We're going to help you put some pieces together and kind of get on track to where you want to be. And I think a lot of people's idea of independence is totally different. That's fine. You know, some families we get that we work with, they're just overwhelmed and feel blessed by the fact that they're son or daughter was able to hold a volunteer position independently. That's huge for them. Other end of that would be, like a client getting hired at Lockheed. So
I mean, it's such a cool thing, like this seeing this journey for you and the journey that the clients are going on is being very, like, your journey in business has been very similar and parallel to their journey throughout Open Door. And you talked a little bit about, like, earlier, how, like, the business side of things are something you don't enjoy.
Not
and
really.
Is that hat of an owner the thing that you knew the least amount when you first started, or what skill or what thing did you know the least amount when you first launched this business, and kind of how did you develop that skill?
Oh my gosh, that's I would say well, let me back up. So I think if, in general, this isn't just pertaining to me, but if there's a passion behind it, it makes everything easier, right? So some people may have careers that are humdrum and they go in and they're at a cubicle and they sit there and they do their job and they've got fantastic benefits and retirement and they make a good salary and they go home and they
probably 90% of people that live in Huntsville.
Sure. And they rinse and repeat and whatever. That's great. But my passion for this population that we work with that's why I'm doing it, period. The rest kind of falls into place. So if I have to learn a new software or how to use Airtable or, automations or billing or all the, the intake process, which I do enjoy that because I get to meet families, but that's just part of it. Right. Yeah. And I'm kind of, I'm growing and learning from my clients continuously as well. So I learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And that keeps me going. So I think if you have a passion for something, that's what's driving you, you're not going to just wake up one day and lose it.
Yeah.
I don't think. So, but it's work. I mean, work is work. I always tell people if I have clients they kind of get fixated on their hobbies. They just want to do their hobbies all the time. And which I understand. And I'm like, look, if I could, sit at home all day and cook barbecue, that's what I do.
Yeah. If someone paid me to do this, that'd be great.
Yeah. But unfortunately, if there's a passion that's associated with it, the other little kind of nitpicky business stuff, whatever, that's part of it. And I think, establishing relationships, especially because we've started this obviously as a community type of organization, and maybe we'll grow, maybe we won't, right? But our model is to spider web, right? We want to be, that's how we'll grow. And I think that's how you impact more. You kind of take that seed and we've expanded and we're continuing to expand and we have no ceiling, right? Yeah. So the more environments we get, it's kind of limitless, right? Yeah. Like I knew from the start that I didn't want to just, we're a car wash and we hire people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this is more of a cultural shift and education and we want our environments and the workers within those environments to learn just as much as our clients are.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So it's not only about, teaching the clients how to assimilate into the workplace, it's teaching workplace employees what's it like to work along someone with autism.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can tell you right now that's going to be a thing. So give it a decade. Yeah.
So looking over your kind of your role within the company from when you first started and kind of what your day-to-day looked like versus what your day-to-day looks like now, how much do those vary and what did those look like?
So, when I first started, I was the job coach. I was doing the billing or whatever. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. But I still do direct services with clients.
Okay.
I'm not doing any more community-based. I'm doing more of the in-office, working with clients one-on-one in regard to helping them with their resume and interview skills. And we set up job search accounts for them and kind of how to navigate all that, look for something that they can sustain, that they're going to be, get gratification in doing and that meets certain criteria that they have.
Okay.
So I would say, that the daily direct services out in the community, what was kind of what I was doing all day, every day. Yeah. Now I'm kind of, and I'm managing the coaches, and I don't even like to look at it that way. Like they are wonderful.
Yeah.
We've got a great group of people that, they just get it. Right.
Yeah.
And, so I don't even want to say managing people. I tell them, look, this is your client. You're going to get to know them. You're going to establish rapport with them. You're going to know what helps and doesn't. And you roll with that you're going to be the best person at engaging them and helping them throughout the process. Not me telling you what to do from across town. Right. Yeah. And again, that's an organic approach to, I need someone to help me kind of learn what working is like. And they're right here next to me. Right. And they're nice, and we have common interests, and blah, blah, blah. So, now obviously I kind of do a lot at the office, and I do our intake. So I like to meet the families and interview the clients prior to knowing what services they may benefit the most from or not benefit the most from. And again, trying to get more environments to open their door. I mean, that's my, that's probably more of my job, as opposed to everything being my job back then. Not to say that I have less on my plate now, but
just different things.
Right. Exactly. So, some of the humdrum stuff, whatever, but, I will never not do direct services with my clients.
That's why you started it. That's the passion. And at the end of the day, like, I think if you were to stop doing that, the passion for what you do, you would just die. And then like at that point, it's just, it's just going to be like a job for you.
Exactly.
And there's a difference between like the job and the career. And the career you've created and the company you've created and nourished is because of that passion for what you have. And if you just were in the office all day, that would die. No. You wouldn't make it. You couldn't do it.
No. It would not keep the wheels would stop spinning. So they inspire me. I mean, they are, some of these individuals are the strongest people I've ever met. Like, they've faced adversity like you would never know.
Yeah.
And now they're trying, people are people. They are individuals. They have interests. They have things that, quirks like we all do. They have fixations, but they also have passions and creativity and it's hard to wrap. You can't put autism in a box, right? It's such a wide spectrum. Mm-hmm. And you also can't do that with how you approach it, right? There's never going to be a one-stop shop for people with autism.
Yeah.
You have to, in my opinion, you kind of have to approach it individual by individual, which is something that kind of concerns me as we scale, because I want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Right. There isn't a handbook, right?
Like, this is what's worked in the past.
Right.
Now make sure it fits within one of these chapters. It's
right.
like, no, you might have to write a whole new chapter.
Yeah, exactly. So we find that, the environment paired with someone on their shoulder there to encourage, to prompt, to give feedback, right? In the moment, it's teachable moments that resonate with people.
Yeah.
It's not, let me send you a paragraph about it later and you look over and fix that by the time you're here next week.
Yeah.
Right. It's teachable moments. So
thinking over your journey over this 9 to 10 years that you've been doing Open Door, how much of your success would you contribute to being in the right place at the right time, and how much would you contribute to your hard work?
So I would say the fact, I do think that luck plays into a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And, I never went out and was like, oh my gosh, we've got to find some financial help to help invest so we can grow. That came to me, and that was I got lucky there in that aspect. That was simply enough to get us some systems in place and a roof over our head, right? It wasn't like, we're not doing a new build out at Stonehouse,
yes,
right? Or whatever it may be. So I think, would I still be doing it had I just all day, every day from A to B to C to client to client to client,
Yeah.
family. I don't know, but that I would attribute that was a big part of it for us to just get to the next level of how we could help more individuals. From an exposure standpoint, from just being at the simple things like being able to get a new website, the little things. I think, hard work, entrepreneurial, anything is going to be hard work. Your 9 to 5 pays the bills, 6 to 10 builds the empire. So, and that's what I do. I do what I do operationally all day and with my clients. And then I come home and I scheme, I think of ways that we can do this or do that, or approach this or approach that, or new services, or what environments would be more beneficial, and blah, 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 blah. So from that aspect, I've made a lot of relationships in regard to, we've got a tech company that's a partner now that we're having clients do software testing at, and there's a team of 5 of them. Wow. And we've got a meeting tomorrow on how we're going to try to expand that, and, just keep it going. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't think we have just based on our model, like I said, there's no ceiling. We want to keep doing, and meeting people and helping and establishing relationships and so like I said, it's a cult. We want to change. We want a culture change.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, and I think that model is such it's boding. It's going to bode so well for you, just because, like you said, there's never like hey, we've never got to this ceiling. And I think the way that you're growing is going to be growing so organically that you're going to be adding new coaching at the right times. You're not going to be, hey, I think we've grown so quick that we have to then like, oh, we got to catch up. You're kind of growing at the same time.
Yeah. And that's tough, to balance that. But it's, I think it's also beneficial. We don't ever want to have a coach that, is, it's funny. People ask me, they're like, how did you, what job posting did you put out, or how'd you find your coaches with these backgrounds? And every single job coach we have, except maybe 1 or 2 from the past, they contacted us.
Wow. And
they said, I have a background in this. I really like what you're doing. It's beneficial. It's interesting. It's different. Can I do an interview? Can we talk? And I love that. I mean, it couldn't be any better than someone kind of reaching out, because that there's a passion coming from behind them, which I think is number one. And it's worked out. Knock on wood. So, yeah.
So if someone's listening to this right now and they want to connect with you, they want to support you in what you're doing, if they're a business themselves and they want to become a partner, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you, and how can they do that?
So we have an office location over in the medical district. It's 218 Rhett Avenue. It's got columns on the front of the building. It kind of stands out. But that's where our office is located. And then they can reach me directly at david@opendoor.training. That's going to be my direct work email. Website's obviously www.opendoor.training.
Okay.
Then we have Instagram at opendoor.training, and our Facebook page, which is at A Door Opens.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're out there. We're out and about. We love to collaborate, whoever, whenever, and run our mouths. Like we've done today.
Yeah, well, it's been great. Honestly, I've loved learning more about the story of it, and there's like it was so educational for me, because I had no idea.
Sure.
And I think there's one aspect of seeing it and reading about it, and there's one aspect of actually having the conversation about it, and they're two very different things. So I thank you so much for seeing that and spending the last 50 plus minutes talking with me today.
Oh, wow.
I really enjoyed learning.
Went by really fast.
Yeah, it went by really fast. Yeah. I really enjoyed learning more about your story, and I continue to look forward to the success we'll have in Huntsville for years to come.
Thanks so much. Yeah, my pleasure.